So chapter 4, research findings. First of all, my aim is to be more concise with my videos and talking about what it is, because again, this is what I'm practicing for my Viva. So, what are the research findings? So it's looking at the research themes that were explored. So these are themes were the initial thoughts on practitioner inquiry, participant understanding of practitioner inquiry, what does professional identity mean to them pre and post inquiry, how classroom practices might change as a result of inquiry, and the influence practitioner inquiry had on their perceptions of themselves as a teacher. In grounded theory, the theories in grounded theory explain the stories that have emerged. So, given what the research themes were, this is actually a fantastic story of something that has gone completely awry with what the participants said to me about practitioner inquiry, and it was really rather interesting, some of the things that have come out. And what I've done with this is ensure that the quotations that I have given and where I'm backing up what's been said are being, for the most part, total verbatim quotations to preserve the participant's voice, because again, this is what was said was sort of missing within all of this, but because in Scotland this is controversial, that perhaps this practitioner inquiry is just not working out the way it was originally intended. A good idea gone just a bit awry. So, the aim with using the participant's voice is it captures a range of the range of the context, the time frames, the perspectives that was happening over the course of the year, because this is about the NQT's journey, their journey with practitioner inquiry, their journey with professional identity, their journey in their classroom practice. Alongside talking about the results of this journey, the local authority documents were also used to back up sort of key points that were emerging, and also an analysis of them. Also the GTCS documents, because these all had a potential influence on what was happening or what was being said by the NQTs, and of course my own memoing at various points in times, and this is all included in this chapter 4, again just sort of to map this fantastic story that has come out. With every story there is ambiguity, negative cases that haven't sort of fitted with the majority, or haven't evolved into particular codes, and where these have happened, they're very clearly highlighted, but also adds a further dimension on also refinement to the theories, in this case the themes that have emerged from this. So what were the research findings? Now, I could go on for hours, literally hours about this. So let's just actually talk about the categories that came about and the codes associated with that, and then leave it at that point. So pre-inquiry, the category that came about was ability to be a teacher, and the grounds associated that were improving, understanding their teaching. Categories evolving self and identity, so this was about identifying, the learning, the changing, the reflecting. And the reflecting actually just went in two slightly different ways, because what was happening is the teachers were reflecting on their journey and their identity, but they were also then reflecting on previous practitioner inquiry. And this had quite a big influence for the vast majority of the participants on the original perceptions of what this was they were going to be asked to do, and again more about that in chapter 5. There was also the practical reality, and interestingly this category came in both pre and post categories that came out, but it's a practical reality. It's about the planning, the trying, the depending, the worrying, the time consuming. And worrying will become a theme in its own right, but again this was all part of the practical realities they saw it, being teachers pre-inquiry. And then it was about the building relationships, so the building, the evolving, the knowing, and the being able to evaluate the relationships that came about it. Categories post-inquiry. We talked about, the perceptions of the inquiry, and it's about the consistency of what they were asked to do, the mentoring, and what was surprising about it. I'll just go back to the mentoring for a bit, and just one really short noteworthy point is that those that were Gaelic medium teachers had far freer reign over what they chose to do than any of the other teachers. And again, it's just really intriguing points, and there were some reasons given by them for it, but I just think, actually that would be a really interesting bit of research, because again, Gaelic, the tendency is that they come from more community or communitarian orientated places where everyone is working together. It's far flatter leadership structure than perhaps in more urban areas, but again, that's research for another day. Other categories post-inquiry, again, was about the self-efficacy, so the teaching and the reflecting. The practical reality, as I said, about pre-inquiry. So again, about what came out at this time was about being isolated, about the challenges, the realising, and also the realising of just having to run with it, so the practicalities of doing it. I would like to say about isolating is that this actually was quite a small code, but again, like worrying, it sort of permeated through a lot of the other things. And again, this is where, it's my choice within this as well, the researcher's bias, that I've chosen to include it, because again, I felt that there's some really important points, learning points that will influence hopefully the wider conversation about this coming throughout. And again, it's about this ability to be a teacher, the realising of what it actually means, the learning, what they need to focus on. So these then led to the core themes. Now, there were 3 core themes. So this is your theory within grounded theory. So there was the pre-inquiry theme, which was the evolving self and identity, and the post-inquiry theme, which was the self-efficacy. But the theme that really interested me, and again, this is something that I really think is worth exploring in other research, is the theme of worrying. And it's actually why I really like grounded theory, because it was an unnoticed theme permeating almost everything that was being said, and actually only came about as a result of the coding, when I went, actually, hang on, here is a ground, and actually if we go back and look through everything that's been said and then explore it further, when looking for the theoretical sufficiency, actually this is a worry, and the worry was literally everything. But particularly it was about fitting in. It's how the worrying about based on how they perceived other teachers to be, how they taught, how they acted, and the worry that they couldn't picture themselves there at this point in time in their journey, and that slightly changed between the pre and the post inquiry phase, which also reflects where they were in the year. So we've got the situation where there was a huge amount of worry both times, but pre-inquiry is how they were as a teachers. Were they a teacher? But post-inquiry, the worries were about admin, about their class, about the progress. And actually it was far more similar to the worries that we know that most teachers have. And again, that was just a very intriguing point, and something that was raised throughout this as a result of using grounded theory analysis. So then we talk about the situating the theory, and that's where my chapter 5 comes in, is talking about what has actually happened during the NQT year, and looking at it in conjunction to the literature review. This is the theoretical sampling, and looking at applying the themes that have emerged to the current and not so current literature, because again, there's a tendency that we could just say, oh, well, literature in the last 5 years, the last 10 years, but actually there's far more to it than this, because some of the things that have emerged, and not to preempt chapter 5, but some of the things that have emerged have actually been being said for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and as a result needed to be included within the literature review.